Hey guys, thanks for tuning in. Check it out. Today we are doing the first in the series of the new Fimi X8 Pro drone. It's supposed to have kind of better tech all the way around. It's supposed to have attachments, drop mechanism, speaker. I did have them send me like an extra battery, so we'll see how all that works. Then we're going to also put it up on the phone, see how the interface is on the controller, see how things have kind of changed since the original X8 series came out. Anyway, stay tuned and let's get into the X8 Pro. It's a 1 1/3 sensor, 48 megapixel camera. It has a 15-kilometer range on the controller, it looks like. Obstacle avoidance, it looks like, I don't think it's 360 omnidirectional, but we're gonna test that out in our tracking test. You may have seen my reviews of the new DJI Mini 4. I'll go ahead and put a link up there on that series, but I was a little bit disappointed in the tracking and obstacle avoidance on those, especially in my area, kind of in the woods on a road. So it'll be interesting to see if something like this, can do what you need it to do. I did a test of the initial X8 Pro up in the mountains of Hawaii, and it was raining on it. They never did have this claim of waterproof before I did that. So I don't know if they're looking at my video and they finally are determining it's waterproof. It's definitely rain-proof to a certain extent, but I wouldn't assume you'd want to fly for very long in the rain. Anyway, let's open this up. This is my first time opening it up. So as we open the box, we're kind of greeted with just a little package list here. Kind of interesting QR code for the app. Anyway, let's see what we got, guys. This is exciting. I'm really into looking at crafts that can compete with more name brands. It's always interesting to see what these things can do. Not quite as up to the technology standards as other companies like DJI, but it's good to have options, like cheaper options that work well. Right off the bat, guys, check this out. Now this is really interesting. I'm seeing rear sensors right here on the bottom legs. That is very cool. I'm just going to spin this thing around and look at it real quick with you before we open it up. Dust plug here, that looks like that is for, wow, that's a peripheral plug-in right there. You see how there's this slot on the bottom? So I guess you're gonna wanna keep that in maybe if you are not using the peripherals, and it's just basically a silicone plug. It's that metallic bottom here, kind of like other drones have. Possibly magnesium. Distance laser sensors here. And that looks like a camera, like an optical flow camera to track the ground, to keep it more stable. So height, stability for the ground, two big old LED lights there. And then we have a couple of feet here on the front. So it's like all the feet are basically in the arms and on this bottom metal plate. Quick look at the front. Let's go ahead and take off this gimbal cover, see what this is all about. Let's see how this thing, oh, there we go. Just kind of pull it off the bottom. Push it back on real quick. Yeah, easy enough. Not quite as robust as some of the other ones, but it does the job. And there is our camera, guys. 1 1/3, 48 megapixel. A little Fimi logo there. So we're gonna see how good that thing is. Check out the cooling fans on the bottom and the back and the side. So quite a bit of cooling here for the camera. Up inside here, I'm seeing some, gimbal supports here that are gonna support it and dampen it. On the side too, you just have these little silicone hangers here, and then of course this is a 3-axis gimbal, right? So left and right yaw, rotation, pitching up and down, and then our roll left and right to dampen that video. Always exciting to see sensors. So look on the front too, we do have, these are supposed to be obstacle avoidance. Remember the original X8 didn't have any of this stuff, so this is new to the Pro. And don't forget, I really test these things out in my videos, so make sure you guys are subscribers and click on those notification bells so you know when I'm releasing new videos for this kind of stuff, and you can chime in and watch them. There are the motors, little guys here. There is our power there. It looks like it's just about 70% charged when I push the button. Big old vent back here, and then lights back here. Let's open up these arms and just see how this thing does. If we have to open up a certain way, there's the rear, there's the front. Actually, that was the front and the rear, just reversed. Let's try the opposite way around. Open up the rear first. Yeah, so we can't do the rear arm first, or else see that won't that won't open up. There's our little tabs to open up and take out the battery. So I'm pushing them in, sliding up. This thing is super light without the battery, just amazingly light. And speaking of the battery, let's check this thing out. 17.6 volt maximum charge voltage battery, nominal 15.4, and it's a 3800 mAh, 58.52 watt hour battery. And right on the top, lithium ion polymer battery. Does seem like it feels like it's just a flat pack battery, just like 4 of them stacked up in here. So basically a high voltage 4S battery, but it looks good. There's our connection port to the Craft. There's our little tabs that I was just pushing in. Hopefully they sent me another one. I'm not too sure about that. I asked them to. Remember, the regular X8 has the red logo. These guys are accenting it with gold, so a little bit more luxury here. Trying to open this up, definitely not the easiest. There is our micro SD card for onboard high definition video and picture storage on the top. And then that is a regular micro USB on the bottom. So a little bit of the older USB technology in there. I would have liked to see a USB-C on that one. Also a couple of buttons here. Cool, guys. So you can control it strictly from Wi-Fi if you want. This is a switch. So that switch, you see how it can go left to right. And that's going to be if you want to control it between the RC that it comes with, which you probably would want to. But if you didn't want to use the RC, you can connect it just to your phone and control it there. And then that looks like a reset switch. It looks like we have a really good silicone seal on this door. So that's kind of why they're claiming it's partially waterproof. Also, what I found is these guys have a really good circuitry coating, some kind of waterproof circuitry coating. And that's kind of as it is for all electronics now, but it seemed like when I flew the X8, the regular X8 in the rain, it just didn't have any problems, even though it was soaked. Okay guys, now that we have pretty extensively checked out the actual drone, key moments here are it does only have front and rear sensors and a bottom sensor. So not 360, no sensors on the top, no sensors on the sides, but at least they're gaining more sensors on their Fimi line, which is always nice. Disclaimer and safety, and then this one right here is a quick start manual. So you have a full set of 4, and then if you crash, you've got 2 extra ones. And these are those quick lock propellers I was talking about where they just push on. We'll do that in just a second. All right, moving on guys, here is the controller. So it looks pretty much exactly the same as the X8 controller. I'm not really seeing much external, if anything at all, changes. Here are the antennas that just kind of pop up. That's the range of motion. You can go all the way down like that, all the way up, notch in between. Depending on how you're holding the controller, right, you always want the Craft to be perpendicular to this flat part for the best signal. Little sticks here, same thing, of course, as the other controller. Let's go ahead and screw these on. Little cubby there that really holds them in nice and tight, out of the way and secure when you're not using it. Little silicone rings around aluminum flight sticks here. Pretty springy. Little joystick here that you can push down and click in. We have a little button here, power there, which actually makes all these lights light up. So it looks like this controller is basically fully charged. Same kind of return to home switch, not really a button, but a switch that you turn left to right. So very simple. And then this is the one that pulls out and expands. So you can fit a tablet in here, guys. If you do have, say, a iPad mini, it will fit in here. There is a nice silicone grippy surround in here, and it comes up to all the edges right there. Flipping it over, this isn't venting at all. We just basically have like dimples here. We've got 2 buttons here, A and B, and then we have our rollers here. It looks like this one here, which would be your right finger from the other direction, is just gonna keep turning and clicking both ways. There's no stop points to it. And this guy here is kind of like a regular gimbal roller, right, where it springs back and only goes a certain amount. They're definitely sealing their ports up really well, so at least you know that if you get into some moisture, it's going to be hard for it to get into the electronics. This is a USB type A, so the older USB and the older USB, micro USB, I should say, right there. First con I'm seeing is I wish they would kind of upgrade their connecting ports to USB-C. That would be great. It looks like they're just kind of recycling that technology and making it cheaper. But if you don't mind that and you're looking for a cheaper price, that may be okay, right? Because their stuff is usually a lot cheaper than more of the mainstream drone manufacturers. Okay guys, moving into the last bit in the box, we've got 3 cables, all with the USB-A, which is what you're gonna plug into the bottom of the controller in that port. Apple, your Android, and then if you have a really old Android or whatever you might have, you have that micro USB port there. We're gonna be going over all this too, guys, for connecting your phone up and stuff, so hang in there. Here is our plug. So I am in the USA, and unfortunately, this is not a USA plug here. Kind of jumper, which is the older style USB micro with that little D plug there, to a USB-A. Last thing in the box is going to be the charger. So I don't see any of the extra peripherals. I'm gonna need to check on that if I set them somewhere else. So definitely my fault, guys. I went ahead out in the garage and I did find some of the things they sent me. So check this out. A Yagi antenna. This is specifically for the Fimi that just sits right on top, and it's supposed to extend the range. So definitely going to be using these in the range test. Speaker / drop mechanism combo, I believe. See that thing there? So kind of interesting. Let's just see what this is all about. This is supposed to slip right on that bottom slot. Remember, we were checking out on the drone itself. Let's just get this thing out of here. So very interesting. Check it out. So speaker, if you wanted to do, say, some search and rescue and talk to the people underneath the drone somehow. This is a drop mechanism. You see that little pin there? All going to be activated by the switch that this connects to in the drone. And there should be an on-screen button for it. And then that's just our little clip there. Let's see how this thing actually connects to the drone. Remember this little guy here. So we pull out that rubber plug. And then all that's happening is this guy is just sitting in the notch and sliding and clipping on. Really simple. And that's on there solid. So that's going to give us the ability to remotely drop items through here and talk to people remotely. And I did find the second battery. I said, make sure you send me a second battery because, you know, when you're reviewing stuff, you need to fly a lot. So here it is. If you guys need more batteries, you can buy these individually. And this thing's supposed to fly for like around, I believe 30 minutes, like 29, I think it said on the box. Anyway, guys, it is time to charge all this stuff up. So obviously what happens here is you just plug right into the battery here, only notched one way. So you only can plug that in one way. And so I'm going to charge these 2 batteries up. When we come back to the table here to do our connection and controller hookup and everything, I'll tell you how long it took for these things to charge up. Okay guys, so while I was charging the battery and kind of rummaging around for a figure-8 plug to charge the battery on, I stumbled upon the X8 2022 model that was new in a box, and I never got around to reviewing it, probably because I was moving at the time. Let's just, since I have it here, let's go ahead and do a comparison to the Pro and the X8 2022 model and see how they differ. The first thing up front is the camera is way different. Remember, the new one is a 1 1/3 sensor. The older X8 2022 only has a 1/2 inch sensor, so we should get much better video and pictures on the 1 1/3. Second thing, obviously, the 2022 X8 model has no sensors whatsoever. There's none on the back, none on the front here. This is just a blacked out visor. One thing I did see though is the standard X8 model also has this guy here. Remember this port for the speaker drop mechanism combo. Looks like the ports are just a little bit different on the bottom too. Optical flow camera is a better camera than the standard X8 model there. All the other sensors look exactly the same on the bottom. Motors and everything else, arms and the whole makeup of the thing just look exactly the same. One thing I did notice though is on the newer Pro, the battery's different. Both feel about the same weight, but here's where the differences are. They upgraded the voltage on the Pro versus the standard. So as I was saying, the Pro is up to like 17.6 volt max, and the standard was 13 volts. So this is basically a high voltage 3S. This is a high voltage 4S. But the Pro only has 29 minutes of flight time. This one here claimed to have, the original claimed to have 35 minutes of flight time. So that's a whole 6 minutes more flight time on the standard. Something to also note, guys, aside from the voltage, is the capacity. The 4S in the Pro is only a 3800 mAh battery, whereas the 3S in the standard 22 version was a 4500 mAh. So that's quite a bit more capacity on standard, and that's probably why the flight time is 6 minutes less. And that is probably due to keep the weight the same on the battery. So unfortunately that was a trade-off, but apparently they thought it was a necessary trade-off. You have more features, but less flight time. And I'm assuming that's because of the extra sensors that are in the Pro, and also the range. So the signal strength is stronger because the 22X8 was claiming 10 kilometers. This Pro, remember, is claiming 14 kilometers of range, and that's all the stuff we're going to be testing. But I just wanted to show you a couple of the differences between the Pro and the standard. All right, guys, let's get on with the rest of the review. Basically, the battery on the charger took an hour and a half to charge out of the box. The controller took about 30 minutes because it was almost fully charged. So as we can see, we have full power when we tap the lights. The thing you want to know about these batteries is when they're charging, they blink. When they're almost fully charged, they're all solid, the lights. And then when it's complete balancing, they turn off. So don't take it off the charger before the lights go off. That means it's fully balanced and fully charged. One more quick note, guys, is they do make a higher capacity battery of 5,000 mAh. Now that's going to be a little bit more expensive and heavier, but just to let you know, they do make a higher capacity battery if you wanted to have that longer flight time. Anyway, let's get this thing started and boot it up. I'm going to be using the iPad mini today. So what you need to do is go to the App Store, whether it be Android or Apple, and download the Fimi Navi 3 app. So I'm going to go ahead and get that real quick, download it, and so we can kind of get started with the setup there. All right, while that's downloading, just should take a few seconds. I'm going to kind of set up the controller and stuff. Remember, we got these 3 cables to hook up whatever type of device you have. So I'm going to take out the lightning connector cable, put it in your iPad first, and then it kind of goes in this little notch right here. See how that slides in there? Now we can expand the left side and lock our iPad right in there. So we're ready to connect right here in the bottom when we're booting up. Putting the battery on top, pushing in, and let's power this thing up. So remember, a quick press just basically shows you the battery power. Quick press, press and hold, like other drones. And there we go, nice. Getting a boot up tone. Let's see if that camera does anything here. There we go. The camera gimbal is initiating and centering. Awesome. Nowadays, it doesn't really matter, guys. You can turn the controller on first or second. With these digital types of crafts, it doesn't really matter. With analog, it was more important to turn on your controller first. So I just click let go, click and hold that button too, and we have a link. We're all powered up. As you can see, we've got green lights on the X8 Pro. Let's go ahead and launch the app here. I'm gonna open it up. Of course, you have to agree to some of the privacy settings. So this is where you're gonna have to have an account, or you don't. Let's try to not log in and just get past it. So if you want to, well, that's good. Before, you used to have to log in, so I'm glad they took that away. You can just basically fly if you want, don't have to have an account. And let's see what our options are. So we can log in, we have our region, language, insurance code, about us, help and feedback there. And let's just go right into the device here, guys. So we're gonna click here. So I'm just gonna allow it while using the app. Looks like you don't have to allow it, but it's needed to use the map feature if you wanna have that base map feature. So I'm gonna use it while using the device. And it would like to access your photo library. So that's if you're taking photos with it. I'm just going to allow full access. You can do what you want with that. New user guide. Before you fly, let's read the guide. Start. There you go. So you have just kind of some information here, like all drones do when you first start up your drone, to be cautious. Beginner mode has limitations of 50 meters high and 100 meters away. Know your aircraft. Unfolding the arms and operating the sticks. We should be able to change this if we want. So we'll hit camera view. The aircraft is not connected. And the reason it's not connected is because, hello, I totally forgot to plug in this bottom cable, right? So again, you have to connect your phone with the controller or your tablet. And let's plug in there and see what happens. You see that immediately I have video showing up on the screen. So that's awesome. That was really quick. Firmware download and update. So this is awesome. I'm going to get to do an update with you guys so you know how it works. So let's go ahead and press OK and update this. 700 kilobyte only? That's interesting. That's very small. So I'm just going to press start. And you see how fast that was? It wants me to connect directly from the iPad to the X8 Pro. Okay guys, so you may remember this cable in the box. Adapter dongle here to connect the two cables together. Unplug it from the controller, but leave it plugged into the iPad. There we go. Then we'll basically plug the other end that's into the iPad into this adapter cable. So we'll plug right in and then we'll see what the iPad says. There we go. So I just heard a tone on the iPad. There we go. It says aircraft connected and start updating. Okay. So that's kind of unfortunate. Hopefully they get better at this. I was expecting it to be all wireless because I remember having to do this for the older models. And we just really want to not unplug anything and just leave the cables all plugged in and let it kind of do its thing. So it looks like this is going to take a while. Wow, that for a not even a 1 megabyte file. It looks like the update writing and everything is very slow because that was a very small file. It says here on the bottom of the screen on the iPad that it will take 2 to 10 minutes. And it looks like their percentage up to like 80 was going at 10 seconds per percentage. And it just started to go pretty darn quick here. Yeah, that's just about finished. So there we go, 100%. And let's just see what the drone does. Upgrade complete on the iPad screen. And let's see if we have a final drone reboot. Yep, you can see the camera. Again, very important not to touch it or anything while it's doing this. And there we go. So it just rebooted itself. I'm gonna press OK. Now we can replug everything back in how we had it into the remote control. Okay, we're all plugged back in and I can see that I've got video back there in the background on the screen. And I really hope that Fimi can kind of update that because that is pretty far behind the newer drones where their connectors are the old style and you also have to plug the craft in. Why can't they just do a wireless update? Anyway, if you're listening, Fimi, go ahead and fix that ASAP because that is quite a hassle. Anyway, there we go. We have kind of a tutorial on the screen, ready to go VPU, status of the aircraft. I'm just tapping and it's kind of like giving me this tutorial battery indicator and our return to home or land drone when battery is low, flight time. Then over here on the right, visual obstacle avoidance sensor icon there. Down here on the bottom, available storage. I don't have an SD card in it right now. Drone status. Okay, this is a pre-flight check. Obviously I'm inside, so the GPS isn't working very well. Pre-flight options, you want to make sure all this stuff is how you want before you fly, right? So we can change all this stuff. So they're really kind of trying to catch up to some of the more popular drones on the market with all these settings. Lots of options here. Let's go to the next one here, RC calibration, stick mode. So you see how you can change your stick mode. If you like to control your drone in a different way, you can choose 1, 2, or 3. See how that works. I'm just going to do 2 because that's what I'm familiar with. So at least you have those options. Just makes the sticks do different things. Let's go to the gimbal calibration. They're getting pretty good at a lot of options here. Gimbal pitch speed, if you wanted a smoother, trying to gimbal up and down rotation to make it more cinematic. You have all that. Go to advanced settings. You have all kinds of stuff. Let's go to the photo media, or that's image transmission. That's interesting. It looks like a picture, but it's actually the frequency it's actually transmitting at right now between the drone and the controller. So I usually just leave these on automatic and it chooses the least interference. You see how it's over here kind of in the orange because that's low. And then we can go to battery, and this is awesome because you can see each individual cell. 4 cells, all at 4.28, 4.27 volts. So we've used about almost 10% just having this thing on and doing this updating and this review so far. So you get a bunch of info here, kind of like other drones. Cycles on the battery, 0, since this is the first charge. Kind of those fail-safe settings that are built into other drones like DJI. Probably cancel them if we want to really do a range test, but we'll see how all that works. This, I think, is what I'm looking for down here. These 3 little dots, I'm gonna press those 3 little dots, and here we go. So here's our setting from metric to imperial. So I'll change that to imperial, and watch when we go back here, everything should be in, nope, that's still in Celsius, but hopefully our other measurements are in feet and miles. Let's see if that's correct. Yeah, so see all these up here change to feet when I change to imperial there. So you can do that, at least you have that option for those of you who don't use the metric system like us here in the US. Also have a Find My Drone here, which is cool. So you can use the maps, kind of like a DJI does. It shows you the latest coordinates of the transmission of when it last knew its position. If we press up here, we can choose kind of like the same things. We can do satellite imagery, nice, so that comes right in there. So kind of all the same little map options that other drones have, which is great. Hopefully that beeping works, because if you lose it in the forest or something like I have many times, you want that drone to be able to beep if it still has power. There's no SD card in it right now. I just wanted to kind of put that in with you guys. So remember this door, just basically opening it up, and it tells you the direction to put the SD card in with the notch to the right. So let's just put it in there with our nail, click and hold. Yeah, cool. So as soon as I put it in, I'm seeing the gigabytes here now, 29.7. This is a 32 gig card. Let's check out the camera real quick. So as you can see, I'm seeing the camera on the screen of the controller. And if we want to rotate that gimbal up and down, I'm pulling left on this roller up here. And that's basically gonna rotate your camera up and down. That's the maximum height right there. And we can also see kind of like the degrees on the screen of rotation, which pops up when we're rotating it. So a maximum of 9.8 degrees up. And let's go ahead and rotate all the way down. It should be just about 90 degrees all the way down. And keep in mind that this is the 89.9 is as far down as we can go. And then this is the 50% gimbal rotation speed, right? So we'll just check a couple more things on the screen before we go, guys, just to wrap this up. Basically, we got our vertical and horizontal speed. Now it's in miles per hour because I changed, remember, to the imperial units. And that's great. They're getting better at just being able to click on stuff on the screen. I just clicked on the battery and it brings up my battery menu. So I can check my cells real quick. GPS, cool. So that clicking on the GPS icon right there, which is 0 in the house, no satellites. That kind of brings up my flight options. Clicking on the sensors, there we go. So check it out. So these are the assisted flight options. So you can display a radar on the screen that's going to show you where the obstacles are. Forward or back is all this has, right? So I'm not sure if it'll do left and right now. And then here's the obstacle avoidance behavior. This is interesting. So let's see what it will do. That's kind of unfortunate. The only option is either to have it off completely, so you don't have any obstacle avoidance, or you have it to only brake and stop, whether it be rear or forward. So we're going to see how all that works in a tracking test as well in this video series. So when we're outside, this will be more accurate, but depending on the way you're facing your controller, it's going to show you where the drone is away from you. And it also has that little horizon line, so you know how the drone is reacting to the wind and its pitch and roll while you're flying, which is cool. If you did want to adjust some of the camera settings, let's click on this setting up here. And there we go. So this takes you into the camera photo mode. We've got night mode, HDR mode, auto white balancing or manual metering mode, color, general vivid. So you see how I clicked on these settings here, and then on the top we have actual settings, camera, and more options here. And we can click over here on these other settings on this 3-tab section over here. And this is your auto and manual camera adjusting settings. So I usually like to just use my stuff in auto mode. I'm not really too keen on the manual mode, especially since it takes so much time to dial it in. But anyway, that's the photo, guys. And then to change to the video, there's this little button here, and we're gonna click on that, and that's to our video. And of course, on this one, you can click one of the bottom buttons on the controller, or you can press this red button or the photo button to do photo and video. The zoom, this is interesting. Check this out. So we have looks like a digital only zoom. So no optical here, just digital, zooming in all the way to 5.8. It looks like is the maximum. Okay, so we can back that all the way out. So obviously the clear video is going to be at the 1x. And then if we click on this settings button while we're in the video, check it out. Now we have all the video settings. So same thing, we can format the card, we have our video, then we have our auto and manual there. But this is the one in the center that's going to be all of your video options. 4K 30 is what it's preset at. You can do 30 to 24, and then you can do 2.7 up to 60 frames per second, and then 1080 also does up to 60. A little bit limited, there's no 60 frames per second on the 4K like there are on other drones. So we're seeing the effect of a more budget friendly and cheaper drone as far as money wise, because it doesn't have all the options. Video quality, I like to have it high, man. Why would you want medium or normal? If I'm shooting in 4K, I want high video quality. Clicking on here, we have our album. This little guy here, this little robot head is going to be our intelligent flight mode. So these are all the modes that we're not going to be able to access until we're flying. Clicking on this little guy down here on the very bottom right. Okay, so that's how we're changing our modes. I like that. They didn't have that before. You had to go in the menu to change it. And now they have this little icon to switch from sport, steady or cinematic, and normal. So that's great. Just a little button there. And check this out. So they're getting much more intuitive now. They've been updating their software at Fimi. So I can also click on anything down here, like my memory card storage goes right to that part of the menu. My 4K 30 goes right to my video size. My EV settings, it goes into the on, auto and manual mode. And then this looks like the little hook attachment, the speaker hook. Remember that? So if you look right in there, guys, on the release mechanism, you can see that little shiny little rod there. I'm gonna go ahead and press release, and you're gonna see what's happening. Boom. And then we have this little menu. We just have to press unlock. Go. So as soon as you press OK, you see that thing? That's pretty cool. It's like a little motor spinning and it's retracting it slowly. Very cool. And let's just lock that again. Remember, you have to press lock, and then right when you press OK, awesome. This is also like a speaker, remember, and a drop mechanism combo. So I'm going to press the speaker and check this out. Access the microphone, allow, so that's accessing it on your device. So you have these options: text to audio, audio library, real speak, once play, loop play. So let's just press this and talk while we're going. Testing 1 2, testing 1 2. So it looks like this is recording a clip. I'm going to click to finish, and then you hear that? Yeah, so it just played right after I stopped it. It's worth a try. We'll try that in the flight test to see if it's audible. You can also do text to audio. That's interesting. Let's just try to do this real quick. Hello. Done. Okay. And play. Hello. So it's just kind of a robot voice. Hello. Very interesting. Audio library has no data, so I'm not sure what that's all about. So I'd assume this is like in real time, so let's try it. Getting a little bit of feedback there, but that's the real time speak. So it has like a half a second delay. But interesting, at least you have these options. Definitely gonna be testing this out when we're flying. And I'm just gonna go underneath it and play like a pre-recorded clip. Just see if the audio is possible to hear. I don't know what fold is, but we can do fold and exit. I think that pretty much covers everything around the screen, guys. We have our, takeoff. We can do auto takeoff here, or As usual, you can pull the sticks in to start the motors up. See how that just started them up? Pull down, disarm. Don't have any propellers on there. I think the last thing we'll do is put the propellers on. Anyway, guys, that's pretty much it for the menu. Let's get the propellers on this bad boy. So as far as putting the propellers on, guys, it doesn't look like they really changed anything. Indication you have of which propeller goes where are these little dashes. So you see that little dash on the right. Then you're gonna have a little dash on the propeller that goes on this arm. And then some of the propellers don't have any dash here, and those are gonna go on the arms with no dashes. So this one's just going to basically be a counterclockwise propeller. So we get the correct dash and just put it in these notches, push it down, and then I'm rotating the propeller counterclockwise and then popping it back up. And then the other side, same deal. We'll just get one that has no dashes on it. And this is going to lock in clockwise. So we're pushing down, feeling that spring, and then pushing right until it pops back up, and checking it. So just an initial pros and cons real quick on just the initial video here is it seems like they are advancing slowly. Definitely nothing happening very quickly here. This attachment has apparently been around since the last version of the regular X8 drop mechanism and the speaker. So that's actually not new in this one. The new things we're seeing here, remember, are the 4S battery and also the camera. The camera is a higher quality camera. It has a bigger sensor, also the forward and backward obstacle avoidance. If you guys are interested in checking out the X8 pricing or picking one up, go ahead and check down the description down below. I always have a link to where you can get the products I review. Full in-depth flight test is going to be next. Then we'll do a range test. Then we'll do a full-on tracking test in like an auto vehicle on a bike. And then I'll probably do some kind of like weight lifting test, like just go through a series of weights and see how much this thing can lift. Because since it does have that drop mechanism, that makes it kind of unique. We're gonna definitely be testing all that out. So guys, don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you can keep informed on this entire series for the Fimi X8 Pro. I hope you enjoyed that initial video, and I hope to see you in the videos to come. Thanks for watching.